Oh, that's weird. Now the attendee went away.
I know, I noticed that. We lost our attendee.
Oh, okay. Well, we're live.
All right.
Okay. It's clean and reliable backup energy sources. Thank you. Welcome. Okay, so we had we have a couple of we got two documents, right? There's a draft fact sheet, and eventually there will be a longer memo to council, 4 pages or so, informative little mini report. And then we have our research doc. Danielle dropped a bunch of links into that research doc, and I put some stuff in there too.
I put a couple things in there.
Yep. Most of my work so far has been filling out stuff for the fact sheet on the theory that that has most of our info in it. And is going to be once, that's like our big output. It's public facing. So do folks have that folder and document ready?
Yeah. So I'm embarrassed to admit this, but oh, hi, Devin. Oh, now your name went back to Alexi, so that's good. I am not sure how on my iPad, which is really what I use almost all the time, how to look at you guys and to look at the documents at the same time. So I have to kind of switch back and forth.
It's fine. That's no worries. Yeah, I've just got the doc open, so most of the stuff on my screen is that doc. So in the fact sheet, a lot of what I have gotten done, and my big goal for this round is to kind of fill in some of the info in there, so that we can start figuring out what the infographic should look like. And if we can get the content in that infographic ready and some kind of a, what's the word? A wireframe, or like an idea picture, right? Like drawn on a napkin kind of a concept. Then we can show some content and some examples to Eugene's graphics folks, and they can maybe noodle on that and come back with what it might look like. Because I think that infographic is sort of the core of the fact sheet. That's where people are going to mostly get the info.
Seems like a good idea.
And then we might end up with 2 infographics. Say it's a front and back. Each one has sort of an anchor graphic. The front one is like, what are the systems? And the back one is, how much power do you need for stuff? You can see it, the next part down in that draft fact sheet. I pulled in a bunch of watts of various things. So then you can say, oh, I need, like, I got a stair lift and 7 light bulbs and a laptop and whatever. How many watts do I need? How many hours?
Right.
I'm not like.
Yeah, we might want to just, because people like, that's I think a big stretch to think people can add up that and figure it out. But maybe we want to do like 2 examples, like bare minimum, and give a few examples, like home with medical equipment and your typical home, just to like make it a little easier and maybe list. I think what we have is great, but we can scaffold it a little bit for the user.
Yeah. It seemed like that, was it BioLite example had some pretty interesting, I mean, they had some of these power draw information, but they had just selected a few and had a little graphic on them. It was kind of a cute way to do it.
Let me
so we could copy them.
I'm pulling up the BioLite.
Yeah, I'm looking for it too here on the other.
That's the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Drop
What
the-
is, so how does that Kickstarter work? Does that mean that those things aren't really available right now, that you're just putting money into this idea so they can produce them, or? There it is.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure if that thing is actually available for purchase yet.
Right.
But I mean, you'd think I think they met their funding goal, and
Yeah,
it'd be worth doing a little more research to see if something similar to that is like on the market.
right.
There's their own page. They're taking reservations. They say they're going to ship in May 2025.
And honestly, that's right around the corner.
That's tomorrow. Yeah.
Right.
Did anyone see the total cost of it?
$2,000 entry.
I'm
Oh,
scrolling
okay, there it
down
is.
to see if I'm finding that I was thinking of.
2,400.
I threw the link in the chat of this
Yeah.
meeting. I'll put it
Yeah.
in the search doc too.
Okay, because okay, so go there. So there's this one, what can the backup complete power during an outage? Shows the different sizes of fridges, plus then you go on, yeah, how long can power individual devices? Then you go on, see that one below there. There's a laptop, smartphone, breast pump, air fryer, microwave. It's fairly detailed. And it's related to their, product. If you bought the core, you bought the complete, but still the same number of hours, nights, watts, whatever would seem similar. Assuming we believe their research to put that in there, probably so, right?
Sure, it's fine. I mean, I think so. Like as I look at the BioLite page, the they've basically got two systems, but it's just one box, and you either get one of them or two of them.
Correct.
If you get two of them, you can get the tax credit because it's big enough. Or you can get a few.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was something, I thought I saw like a graphic on what it powers. Now I'm not finding it. I thought they had like a nice little, there's what can it power. Here, I'll share it. You guys are probably already seeing it, but so there's like this piece on the page of what can backup power. And I kind of like this piece, can power the following for 30 to 60 hours.
Right. And it shows the different size fridges, and then the one below that shows of the smaller individual devices how long.
Yeah, although it's a little weird, like can power 8 hours of lighting for 30 to 60 hours. I'm like,
oh, that doesn't make sense.
They lost their units after, refrigerator for 30 to 60 hours, sure. 3 meals, what, a day? Continue.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they mean by this. Like the
Mhm.
units come out a little funny, but I like
Okay.
the approach where you say
Right.
you could do this for this many hours or this many times. So we could do that in our there we go, in our fact sheet. The Zoom panel was in my way. So we
And on that, I mean, I can't see that at all. Like it's so tiny. Like there's no.
Oh, you're probably on a laptop screen. Sorry, I'm on this.
I am. Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I have the actual thing. Oh,
yeah,
pulled up on my iPad, but like this, I have the website pulled up too. But
yep, I'm in the actual
the doc.
fact sheet.
Yeah.
So we could say, say you need a CPAP and what? CPAP, an air purifier.
Mm. a laptop and a smartphone and some lamps.
These are
Space.
not cheap though. I mean, I don't, Alexi, in the chart,
Yep, the
you
chart.
it says $250 per kilowatt out of the price range. Is this the one you're looking at for a portable battery system, or is this not in the table?
BioLite is not portable. That's grid tied storage.
Okay, so that's not in this table, correct?
BioLite is a brand. This number's out of National Renewable Energy Lab for like generally things like power walls and BioLites and whatever. The BioLite is a little different because it's got plugs literally on it.
No, I get it. I'm just saying it's not in that option is not in it would be a portable battery system, correct?
I guess so. It is. I mean, it's a wall hung portable battery system, so it's not that portable, but it is broadly, it's just a funny shape. Like a
Well,
lot
like
of
they show a picture of somebody just setting it on top of their refrigerator. I think you can put it wherever you want. I don't think it has to go on the wall.
this,
Um,
this is like the most typical form factor for the portable things, these guys.
I'm just curious because I'm looking at these prices and I know I think it's hard for people don't understand when you say how much it is per kilowatt hour. People want to
Right.
know what it's
Right.
going to cost them to
Yeah,
put it in.
that's
I
a good
mean, that's
question.
what
That's
they
a really
want.
good question because like a portable battery system, some of them are the size of a cigarette lighter and power like one cell phone charge.
Correct. Yeah, I got something that's like a toaster that can, do that kind of thing.
Right. Or like, yeah, like those little things that keep your phone charged a few times. That's a portable battery system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So is a thing that's a generator size and costs $5,000
Right.
and has, 75 times as many of the same tiny little batteries in it as the lithium ion cells. So like those are both portable battery systems. So it's a little hard to say what's a typical price for one of those
Right.
is from $5,000 to $5,000.
Right.
Or more. I mean, you can spend more. But I think that's super helpful though. I think now that we're talking about these different kinds of portable ones, like maybe we limit it to like, okay, this kind, that kind, or over a certain size, because I think, you know, tell me what you guys think, but I mean, this whole big push for 2 weeks ready,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks ready is huge right now. And I really, I don't know if we want to dabble in a little tiny battery to charge your cell phone, right? I mean, I think we need to think all of these things big.
That's a kind of a cool threshold to say we are talking about 2 weeks ready. Like, yes, portable cell phone chargers are good, nothing wrong with that. This fact sheet's about things that help you prepare for 2 weeks.
Right.
Help you be 2 weeks ready, right? How are you going to be 2 weeks ready? And
We can explain like there's an earthquake.
right.
We might be out of power for 2 weeks.
I think that's a good idea, although I think we might want to have like, sizes to say, here's one that would work for, maybe you have one smaller one because people are going to look at the cost of the 2 weeks ready and go, I don't know if I'm ready for that exactly.
Well, most people will never be 2 weeks ready, right? I mean, the whole
Right.
idea is that you get the people, I mean, since I've asked this of the people that made 2 weeks ready like a million times, I'm like, okay, but most people aren't going to be able to be 2 weeks ready,
Yeah.
period. I mean, it just can't. You live in a big apartment building and you have like a small pantry and no money to buy 2 weeks worth of food and then throw it out when it's all expired, or you know what I mean? There's
Right.
so
Yeah.
much cost prohibitive stuff in being 2 weeks ready. There's a lot of inequity there. And so the point is, what I've been told, the party line is, but if some people are 2 weeks ready, that takes the burden off of the municipalities. So as much burden that you can remove from the municipalities by being able to be 2 weeks ready, the better it is. So like the more people that are 2 weeks ready, the better it is for everyone because less people need help.
Sure, I get that. I'm just
Right.
trying to think of who are we trying to reach with this and what are we trying to do? So I think we're trying to reach as many people as we can, make it accessible. This was in response to the feedback that the staff got when they were doing their outreach, right? So it just seems to me like we should have one option that says this would give you 3 days ready or 5 days ready of these things, these basic core things as the first step. And then 2 weeks ready would be the, you know what I'm saying? We have sizes. Because you're right, everybody won't be able to do that. And so do we want to give them the information about what it would take for them to have something less than that, or we just don't want to give that information?
What if we had in our fact sheet, we had page 1 is things, system types. You could have an electric battery box. You could have a biofuel burning generator. You could have a wood stove. Those are like items that help, that provide readiness. Like here are some examples. We've got small batteries, big batteries, grid tied batteries, generators, wood stoves, and there's like some really basic info. And then on the second page, we have sort of like use cases would be the jargon, but it's like, what do they get you? Let's say you want to be 3 days ready for basic medical equipment and your cell phone, but not much else. Then you need, like, here's the device that would get you that 3 days of readiness to keep your basic devices running before you got to go figure something out.
Right.
Let's say you want to be 2 weeks ready of basic medical equipment. Here's the device that covers that for your, here's what we assume you need. This is the level of machine that gives you that. Let's say you want to be, the big golden one is 2 weeks ready with more stuff, your fridge, your chest freezer, I don't know, whatever. We could pick 7 things or something. And then we say, to buy that level of readiness, here's what you would, here's some systems that you could get to do that. And then, so the front page is like intro, infographic on systems and machines. And maybe like readiness centers, like here are places that are available in an emergency to recharge, for example. And then on the back is use cases. You're like basic, middle, big.
I think it's super important to point out, Mitra and I were talking a lot about this, about obviously this is alternatives to fossil fuels.
Right.
First and foremost, right? But for example, like we were 7 days here. Luckily, we didn't lose our power, but we could not leave. We could not get out, and emergency vehicles could not come to my house, our entire street. And so recharging a battery does not help me at all. I have no way to recharge a battery, go anywhere in a vehicle to take a battery somewhere where I could plug it in, right? And I'm not the only one. I'm just saying, like, so that makes it challenging as far, and I did some research, like I called a few places because I'm interested in like grid attached battery backup, but I am not also in a position to have solar, for example. I don't have enough sunlight for solar. And that's extremely expensive too. And pretty much everyone told me there's not enough battery backup for you that would make more than a day or 2 of power if you're not getting power from the grid. So for me, as an example, I'm kind of stuck because then I did research on finding out, okay, so how do I could get a generator that runs on R99, which I use R99 in my diesel van, and I love R99, that's all good. But you have to buy the portable, they only come in portable generators. You cannot get a whole house inline generator that takes R99. They only, as far as I can tell, from what the people I talked to and the emails I sent, that those tri-fuel whole house generators don't exist. They're either natural gas or propane.
Hmm.
And they may exist in the future, but I'm just throwing that out there. Like, this is real life. Like, what can I actually use that makes sense for my house? And so I know that's me, and I'm saying me, but if this is my issue, that means it's other people's issues.
Sure.
That's my point. Especially in the hills where it's icy and you just
Mm.
can't get out. If you live down in the flats, it's much easier to go charge something. I mean, I don't know. I guess my point is, we might want to emphasize like what you actually need to do to make this work for yourself. Like, you have to recharge it. You know what I mean? You have, like, making it clear that you need to, without sounding negative about it, but like, yeah, you got to take this somewhere. If you're over 30 hours or whatever, you got to take it somewhere and plug it in and charge it back up.
I mean, can we just say like everything, if you have any type of fuel source, when you're on a fuel, you have to get more. If you can't leave, then
Yeah.
so maybe we don't need to like we just need to give the capacity of everything, because people are not going to flip their homes to be off grid. Like, that's the only other option, is being off grid and having the whole thing taken care of. But we're not talking about that. This is emergencies. So let's just give the limitations of everything that.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, that's kind of what I mean, is like, you got to go recharge it if the time is without power goes over, or your medical equipment will not be working. I mean, 2 weeks ready for medical equipment is really hard if you
Yeah.
can't get
Yeah,
anything.
Do you guys see on page 2 of the fact sheet what I'm putting together here?
Yeah.
See this, like just the basics we could do. I'm picturing like I don't know if it's a square with 4 things or like just the basics. And then there's 2 things. There's like 3 days, 2 weeks. And then all the stuff, more, the big stuff. And it's 2 days or 3 days, 2 weeks. And then we could fill out stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're trying to respond to the community feedback that the staff got about, in an emergency, if why people are concerned about converting to electricity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
you're saying heat pump.
right. So we're not trying to necessarily solve all emergency needs. We're trying to say, here are some things, if you are wanting to transfer to electricity, to a heat pump, but you're concerned about emergencies, here are ways you could do this with clean, reliable backup systems. And yes, there are limitations to that. And so depending on your needs, there may be some other things you need to look at. But we're not necessarily trying to answer all the emergency management, questions.
Correct. No, absolutely. And I mean, we can't, it's just like trying to figure out, making a list of everyone's individual scenario. Like, do you have a refrigerator and a CPAP? Do you have, we can't do that. But I also don't want to make it sound like I'm always, from other work that I do, I'm always a little concerned about liability. And what we don't want to do is guarantee people something.
Right.
You know what I mean? When it comes to talking about medical equipment, I want to be sure that it's realistic and that we're not painting a rosy picture that you're going to be fine for 2 weeks ready without going and charging these battery backups. And if you are somebody that needs medical equipment, maybe, and maybe you're not even capable of going out of your house without a bus or something anyway.
Right.
How are you going to charge this thing? So I just want to, I'm not trying to be just being a little bit of a devil's advocate of like, wait a
Right.
minute, I don't want to paint this as super rosy when
Yeah.
it's not practical for life
Yeah.
saving. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a big deal. I don't want us to overstep and sound like we're guaranteeing something.
Right.
What about something like this? We've got the very last section is like, where can we charge? But we trim that down and we say where and how to recharge in an emergency. School buildings, fairgrounds. These are defined, those four are actual resiliency centers.
I wonder if you could even be bigger than that, like
Resiliency centers.
well, or even just like, I mean, Lane County is the one, or City of Eugene is the one who's going to officially designate what is the emergency shelter depending on the emergency. So it might be like, see official communications from Lane County or City of Eugene for like the designated emergency shelter or something like.
And I
It might
think,
not be all the schools are open
right,
if-
and I
unless
think,
they're designated to be.
I think people with medical equipment, although, I mean, it's good for us to try to respond to that. They're gonna have to have thought that plan through ahead of time themselves, depending on where they live and what equipment they have. Just like,
Yeah, I wanted to say one more thing too, because I agree with Devin that I don't think, and whoever else is saying that I don't think this is going to be everything for everyone. And one of the links I had put in the research doc was like, a majority of outages is like, I forget what it was. I think it was like 8 hours or something. And so,
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah,
here are just,
7
I think,
hours,
and that's how you could caveat it. Like, here are a few different options that could sort of get you through that.
right,
Yeah, average is 5,
right.
5.5 hours.
I mean, I guess 5 hours, you don't like,
That's actually
your phone isn't going to die in 5 hours necessarily.
That's the total time. It's the average duration is consistently about 2 hours.
Yeah.
They add up to 5.5 hours a year.
Well, I think as our minimum scenario, thinking of 5 or even 10 hours to say, here's our low, would cover lots and lots of bases. And it won't obviously cover multi-days, but.
So if we don't want to talk, I mean, we don't have to talk about 2 weeks ready, but I think that's what's on everyone's mind because that is being pushed in every corner of the county and the city right now is this 2 weeks ready, 2 weeks ready. So I don't know if I'm worried if we put something out that's like the average power outage is this many hours, everyone's going to go. But the ice storm, we were out of power. Some of my friends in the flats were staying in a hotel for 6-7 days.
Well, why don't we say both of those? You're like,
right,
average power outage is
what I
2
think.
hours. Here's how you coast through that.
Right,
Big storms might be 1 or 2 weeks. Here's what you need to get through that.
right.
Yeah, and it could be like, here's what you need to get through that. They're all kind of expensive options. Or, there's the shelters and the resilience hubs where you can go recharge.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think this committee's we're gonna solve like
Right.
the problem this is expensive but I think we can just share the information that's, out there right now.
Yeah.
So then, I was thinking we could have something like, I kind of like just the basics, like keep me alive and keep my house warm.
Yeah,
And that's like the heat pump and keep my all electric house warm. You know, you've got a heat pump, you've got a water heater. That's the big two, and a cook stove.
Right.
What do you need to get through for in 2 hours? It doesn't matter. Like your water heater's gonna stay hot for 2 hours, and your heat pump's gonna come back on in 2 hours. It's fine. That's kind of the 2 hours is just the basics. That's like I need to run my CPAP for 2 hours, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
But the keep my house warm is the 1 to 2 weeks. And we say, you know, in major events like ice storms or earthquakes, power could be out for a week or more. We like to talk about 2 weeks ready. These systems enable homes to be ready for 1 to 2 weeks. Here's what it would look like for a typical Eugene house with a heat pump and a water heater and an electric cook stove to be ready for a 2 week power outage. Like, yeah, it's expensive. That's a big system. It's like kind of an insanely big system, actually. So what that means is, like, realistically, nobody's going to do that. To be able to run their heat pump for 2 weeks is a lot. That's going to cost cajillions, you know, it's going to cost upwards of $20,000 to $50,000 a battery. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very rare. The result of that message is going to be people that are like, I'm not putting in that much battery. So it's an intimidating message to say, here's what it takes. There are some resources we could look up to say, like, keep my pipes from freezing for 2 weeks. And you could say, here's the minimum to keep your house, like, not broken. Keep the pipes frozen, keep the fridge cold, keep the freezer cold, charge my phone. That we might be able to say what that looks like for 2 weeks.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, it's not going to necessarily be encouraging people to make the decision to go to heat pump if we if it's not
if you set the bar really high, like,
yeah,
stay toasty for 2 weeks with no recharging, that's a lot.
I mean, that's pretty much an off-grid house. So, I mean, do we want to, and most times, I mean, if there's a major earthquake, like, that's just a complete disaster. But if, like, mostly, even when the power's been out for a long time here, most of Eugene had power. So do we want to do something more like a couple of days, which, you know, there was times when a lot of Eugene lost power for a couple of days, and then just a few places lost it for longer than that. So that might be more realistic, because we are going to need to have people help each other, and not everyone's gonna. So, I mean, to me, that seems kind of more realistic. Like, you know, 2 days or 3 days is way more than nothing, which is what most people.
And there's work happening on this, like, at the county level. The county just got like a $20 million grant to establish, like, to improve community resilience, build resilience hubs, like, sort of strengthen all of those systems. So yeah, like, this is just one part of that.
Yeah.
So on that second page, Alexi, where you write the city of Eugene will designate, it needs to be city of Eugene and Lane County.
Yep.
Because the county is, like, up at the very top. So people know that it's going to be working together. Yeah. Whoops.
Do we know the designated resilience hubs right now? Like, we've got Fairgrounds, Bethel, Thurston, and Lowell. Are those are county, right? Are there other ones that we should say, like, start at if you don't get any communications, try these places? Is that helpful?
I don't know. I think then this becomes like a living document that may need to get updated.
Yeah. Okay.
Versus, like, just direct people to, like, Lane County Emergency Management, because their website will always be updated.
And then
Is that, if we put a website and phone number, should that be theirs? We could say, like,
I think so.
go here or call this number to figure it out.
Let me see. Yeah, I think it would be Lake County Emergency Management. Emergency alerts, maybe? Evacuation. Hmm. I mean, I think broadly, Lane County Emergency Management, like, seems to be the homepage for like emergency alerts, evacuation information, emergency planning.
Phone, there's a, oh, and you can call, if they are sending voice alerts, you can call a number to hear the last one. Maybe that's worth putting in the fact sheet.
Before we finalize this, Danielle, do you think we should have the Lane County Emergency Management staff take a look at it?
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yep.
I
Once we
talk
have
with them. So I can do that, facilitate that happening. I mean, that's another thing to consider. Would it be worth having someone come meet with this group, you know, to sort of learn like what they have underway and how this could support or fit in with that?
Yeah,
Because I could schedule like Tiffany Brown, I think it's Tiffany Brown, to come talk.
I think that would be great. I mean, because I just put, so in the chat, I put the link to the United Way, because they're doing the 6 resilience hubs
Yep.
in the county. And so there only is listed one in Eugene from United Way, that of those 6.
Yeah, so these are the 6 facilities that are getting funding through that grant.
Right.
But this does not mean that there aren't other resilience hubs that already exist or that may be designated.
right.
Right. I just didn't know if people had seen that. Because that Fairfield.
And the one in Eugene is in Bethel, Fairfield. I think it's actually getting moved to Prairie Mountain or Clear Lake, maybe.
The airport is getting some grants to hopefully have some solar resources available there in an emergency. And I think the YMCA is looking at possibly being one of those too. So that, yeah, there are some others coming, hopefully.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think I don't think our list should be the place people are going to figure out which is closest to
Because
them.
it's going to be updated.
Gonna
Yeah, it's going to
change, yeah.
change.
And it's going to change depending on the emergency and what
Yeah.
parts of town are affected and stuff. So
I imagine some will be from the city and some will be from the county as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. And so we
Yeah.
need to make sure we have links, just the links for both, or QR codes too, or, you know.
What do y'all think about this top paragraph as it stands right now? 2 paragraphs now because I split it.
you want to share your screen?
Sure.
I think that looks good.
Yeah, I think so too. The only thing I would wonder there is if, even though this is a city document, if we want to put the county first, because the county definitely has the official lead on emergency management for the area, but.
Something like that. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, but you could put in after Lane County and city, but I just think, yeah. That's good.
Do we want to have a link to eWeb's program? Because they have that like readiness program where they email you every week and get you to get like one thing for your emergency kit.
That's a good idea.
I don't know anything about that. That's a good idea.
trying to just make it easy for people to build things up a little bit over time, over the year.
Is there a link to that somewhere handy? Do you have that up?
I'll go.
Or do you want to throw it in the
Yeah, let me
top
find it.
paragraph?
Yeah.
So maybe what we need to do, I'm like back to thinking about the fact sheet and how we set it up, because we're gonna have a draft of something to show to Tiffany so that she can have something to review. And ditto, us, that's the point, what we're trying to generate. So I can take a pass at trying to put something together and draw up some kind of ideas. If people have an idea how that first page should look, great. We were thinking the first page is devices, and then the second page we've got a bit about preparedness, and then a little bit about examples of what you would need. What I have written down right now is like just the basics, and
Well, the first page includes this this matrix that you have here.
Yep.
Already, yeah,
in some infographic form.
some way of it, yeah.
And maybe we've got like got phone chargers and small batteries, and we've got electric generators, which is
Yeah, right,
a silly name, but that's what some people are calling them.
right.
And then we can split, because it really is like little stuff and big stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
So my original task was worded to look at solar plus storage, but that's a whole different thing to, because add solar plus.
I think I think we could skip the solar on this one.
Yeah.
Simplicity.
Yeah.
Can we try to like teach people not to call them electric generators? Because I have a neighbor who works at Lowe's, and he said people have come in asking for them, and he just quietly laughs to himself and tells them there is no such thing as an electric generator, and he doesn't know what they're talking about and sends them away.
It's not nice.
No, it's not. I mean, he doesn't laugh at them, but he was like totally laughing when he told me, because it just sounds ludicrous to someone.
It is a ridiculous.
So we need to, but if people have read that somewhere, they're going to go to Lowe's and ask for electric generators. So I think we need to, maybe in parentheses, we could say misnamed electric generator, or I don't know, some kind of.
Does that mean we all need to put little dams in our little creek in the side of the house? Make a generator.
Yeah, so we just need them to call it a portable battery or something,
Yeah.
I think, wait, are you guys thinking of taking out the solar with like solar plus storage?
Well, I think it's a whole different category, because it's this solar plus the storage, and it makes it complicated to try to talk about estimates, because but we can sure do it.
I think that would be a good one to fit in somehow, because the state, Oregon Department of Energy, is preparing to roll out their Solar for All program, and that's going to be incentives to fund this kind of system, I think.
Oh, okay.
So,
well,
cool.
That would be great. What I was finding was that the solar plus storage program in the state was fully enrolled and they weren't taking any more people for the state program, and that was all I saw. So I didn't know about this.
So
'cause
they got a huge grant last year, or maybe the year before, from the federal government called Solar for All. And right now they're writing the rules for how that program's going to work. But it should be going live like maybe middle to end of 2025. I think that's what they're saying right now. I might be wrong on that, but
okay,
there's more coming.
that's interesting. So will that, because the only thing I did find up was something about the up to $1,200 or no, 30% in federal tax credits for residential solar and or battery. That was the only incentive that was finding. So will that,
Well, but the incentives aren't out yet.
okay, so we don't know what.
Let me here's the link to Solar for All.
Before, I know we're gonna be at the end of our time soon, but I did add a page. I just made a new tab about the research I found, so just want to make sure people know that that's there on our
In the
document.
research doc there?
Yeah, it's just, I just made a tab so it's easier to navigate. So EV backup power, if you just click on that tab, it'll go down to it.
Oh, you're in the fact sheet. I see.
Yeah, sorry, in the fact sheet. I didn't know where to put it.
So where do we find it? I'm not sure.
It's in the fact sheet. Just the tab.
Tabs are on the left.
Yeah, EV backup power.
Oh,
Like
oh,
tab.
I see. Yeah, got it. Thank
main
you.
document.
Thank you. Oh, okay, on EVs.
And is this a fact sheet that someone else wrote?
No, I wrote it, but
Oh.
I didn't cite it. I was gonna see what, I didn't know how the links and stuff, so I'll cite it once if it's gonna stay. I wasn't sure how much detail we needed or not. I mean, I just, read other people and just summarized.
This might be the kind of thing we put in the memo to council.
Yeah.
Okay.
I looked at a lot of things and took a lot of notes, but a lot of it is a lot more detailed than what we need for this.
Right.
About the types of batteries and blah, blah, blah.
Right. The fact sheet, the trick is to take a complicated topic and put it into 2 pages.
Right.
Are there things, speaking of, are there things we should cut or simply briefly mention? Like we could say a wood stove,
Is a cool backup heater.
biofuel, like you can get a portable generator that runs on diesel. That's a thing.
Yeah.
R99, and you can get a wood stove.
Right.
Those exist. Maybe they don't really need to be in our infographic with all their various pieces, because there's lots of flavors of generators and there's lots of flavors of wood stoves. Maybe at the bottom of the infographic we have like, oh, and also
footnotes. Yeah. I think that's a good idea to do it that way.
Others?
Thing on wood stoves that I know El Rapa is trying to get the message out of is, or like get the message out more, is that wood stoves need to be EPA certified. If
Yep.
they're not, then it's like a pretty big pollution problem. So
Sure.
Right.
good to just amplify that message.
Right. Yeah, and as somebody pointed out the last time, sometimes when we need backup power, it's the same time that we have inversions and other reasons that we don't want to be using wood stoves, which is too bad, but yeah.
I know, it's right now.
Yep.
It's me being sad that I can't have a fire because it's cold.
I hear you.
Nita might have some, I know she's not here, but she actually, she sells wood stoves and does things. That's another one of her jobs that she has. So she is fairly knowledgeable. if, she wants to contribute something to that. I know it's a bummer she's not here right now, but she might have some good information on that. If, I don't know, Lexi, if you want to reach out to her with an email or something to see what she might want to contribute, or just throwing it out there that she's, if we want to include wood stoves, which I don't know if I guess it's,
I think what I was thinking we could do on this is have our infographic and our table, and then I was just starting to write a little content below it in the fact sheet. Like there's some other options too. Maybe we don't even need that. We just say like it doesn't need a heading because it's an infographic. We have a picture of a stove and we say like wood stoves can keep a house warm without electricity. And you can see the other sentence I wrote there.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Depending on how it looks, it could end up with a subheading of other options or something, but
But if it's a graphical thing, you've got
yeah, right.
got a picture of a generator.
Yeah.
Is R99 at lots of places, or is it just out at Sequential on by Lane out Community College?
right now it's at Sequential, and I think Mitra said there might be one other location now, and then the gas station that's being reimagined on the corner of 20, what is that?
Nice.
Lemon.
Supposedly will have R99.
Oh, cool.
That's something that Portland has recently passed is a clean fuel standard that's going to require R99 be more available. And this is a direction that I think the commission could go potentially in the next fiscal year, is like researching what a policy like that could be in Eugene.
Yeah, I like that. I know
Coming forward with some
Mitra's
type of
all over that too.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, a lot of the consultants we work with, they're like, Eugene passing this would be like the market, because Portland just passed it, like the market for R99 is already coming here. So like it'd be very easy for Eugene to just like tack on. And I think it would be really good for that message to come from the commission.
That'd be great.
Just
Do
drop
you
that
know
seed.
about the renewable propane? You heard anything about that in Portland or anything?
Mhm.
I have not, but I know it exists. That's beyond the scope of this, but I just wondered if it was attached at all to the Portland thing about R99. No.
Renewable propane is coming, but I haven't seen it in the real world very much.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, like the renewable diesel, like there's pros and cons. Like I know some of the hardcore electrification advocates like don't see that as a final solution. It's sort of like a Brit, it's further entrenching us in fossil fuel. So, could be something to explore also both ways.
Right, but in like Mitra's position, like as she explained it, right, she has a tri-fuel generator because she has no other generator option at her home, and she has to run it's a great example, the radon pump, because they have really bad radon downstairs, and that's where there's a baby downstairs. So they constantly run, and they're well, so they need a generator to do that. Or they don't have water and they will fill up with radon. They have really high readings. They take them all the time. So that is like the option is a tri-fuel. She runs a couple tri-fuels and she uses R99, and by tri-fuel it's gas, propane, and diesel are the three options to be able to run that. So that's what she's doing out there. So it just is another example. Well, if you have to have that, then you need that, R99 is the best choice. No, you're still burning. I mean, that's always been my point. You're still burning a fossil fuel, you know, but
Yeah.
it's coming from a renewable resource, but it's still a fossil fuel. Just like when you collect from the landfill, right? You're collecting, but then the natural gas is being burned for heat, and yes, it's being collected, but it's still burning, it's still emitting.
Mhm. Well,
What do you all think? Should we say, so take a look at the bottom of the first page of the fact sheet. I've got a little bit about wood stoves, a little bit about generators. There's a couple of basics, right? EPA certified, burn clean dry wood, check the
Yeah.
heating advisory. I think that's plenty on wood stoves.
Yep.
And we could say like wood stoves run $2,000 to $5,000 installed. But
Okay.
so widely variable because it depends on your chimney and so much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm not sure if we really want that in there. And then what about the generators? Like we could say something about tri-fuel. We could say something about emissions, or we could just keep it real simple like it is.
Well, you're just saying that they're capable of burning and focused on the renewable part of it. I think that it's certainly accurate.
you guys, I have to run to another meeting.
We hit
We're
time.
at time.
All right.
Do we want to just make some quick next steps or
Yeah. It's a Google Doc. We can work on it just asynchronously. My goal for by the next meeting is to have a draft. So what I'd like to see is in the next 2 weeks, we all get stuff in and have content, and we agree by email, say, cool, looks good, or hey, I messed with this, I added that, I wrote that section. It would be ideal if internally in the next couple weeks, before holidays really hit, we can have a first draft of the 2-page fact sheet part. And then by the time we meet next in the new year, we can approve it as a group and send it to Tiffany and others potentially and say, hey, here's our starting draft. And once we agree on the fact sheet, I think the 4-page memo, even though it's more pages, is actually going to be easier. What do you think?
I think that's great. So want to try to have this draft sort of pinned down as a draft by Friday or Thursday, the 19th is 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, Danielle, commission meets Wednesday, the 18th? No, December.
no December meeting?
Okay.
And this committee is scheduled for January 2nd.
Correct.
I feel like that's kind of not so great of a time. I might be gone.
Should we bump it a week?
Should we bump it to the 9th? There's also the climate friendly landscaping committee, which I know there's overlap. So does that create a conflict for anyone, or is that fine?
Well, that
is meeting on the 9th. I'm fine to do both. I'm free the morning of the 9th.
I'm okay to do both. The other meeting's at 11:30. So if we started this one at 10 or 9:30, we could make that work.
Okay. So I'll move this.
10 o'clock on January 9th.
Yep.
Are you all good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but we still want to shoot for the 19th as our goal for edits to this.
Yeah,
I think we
next week,
should.
basically.
And do you want Tiffany to come to the meeting on the 9th or like the following month?
I think for the 9th, if we could just email her and say this exists, we have a draft, that's probably enough. Because
Okay.
I don't think it's realistic to ask her to review it right in the middle of holiday season, I assume.
Yeah, especially because like
It's coming
I
out
know,
of nowhere.
this group is still finalizing the.
Right.
Okay.
So let's
Oh,
aim for on the 9th, we have our draft agreed to and finished. It goes back to maybe the rest of the council, I mean, the commission, if needed, and or to Tiffany if we don't need to go to the ESC probably. We'll noodle on that on the 9th.
I just, quick question. I know I left the last meeting like a half an hour early. Did you guys assign me something?
I think we did, but I forget.
But nobody told me what it was. So,
That's all right. I think it's superseded by now.
okay. Just,
Yeah.
but email me something, if.
I think the homework is try to check this thing. Assume you're going to spend like an hour this week and an hour next, either putting narrative language in or trying to fill in content or reviewing stuff other people did.
Do we want to use the editing feature just so we can see what we did? I usually do that by default.
Sure.
I mean, like, sorry, the suggestion feature so we can,
Yeah.
Is that like track changes?
yeah, like track changes. Yeah.
Sure. I'll put mine in that format now. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Sounds
set.
good.
Thank you,
All
everyone.
right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.